You ready for this?
Born ready.
All right, let's do it. Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome to the first ever IgnitionTube podcast that we don't yet have a name for, and we're going to need your suggestions for that. We'll talk about that a little later on. I'm Eli. This is Alex. He'll be joining me on this podcast adventure. As we iron out the kinks as far as like the mic situation goes, the camera situation goes, please bear with us. And if you're listening to this on Spotify, well, first of all, we made it. And second of all, make sure to check us out on YouTube. It's on the YouTube channel IgnitionTube if you want to see the podcast with video. Anyway, today is the first episode, so I figure why not get into our background about the cars that we've previously owned, give you guys a little bit of an introduction to both of us. So obviously, I run the channel, you know me. I'll give Alex a chance to intro himself and kind of give us a little background on where you started out in cars.
Sure. Well, again, happy to be here, Eli. Thanks for having me. So you guys may have recognized me from a couple IT videos from the past few years here. Always poking around, lurking in the backgrounds there. But yeah, I mean, where should I begin? Where I started with cars, I mean, you know, like a lot of us, we all got it from our parents in a way. My father was always into cars, and he obviously took me under his wing there, and then I took it to a new level that would possibly be considered an obsession. So, cool. But very good. I mean, I guess we can probably dive right into our background on cars.
Actually, I want to start with how we met.
Perfect.
Because this is an interesting story. At the time, I was playing drum videos on YouTube, and I had heard about Cars and Coffee at Lars Anderson Auto Museum. And so I searched on YouTube, and I found this channel that was making kind of spotting videos out of Lars Anderson Auto Museum. Turned out to be you. So we got into comments back and forth and saying, hey, you know, you should come check out the event, blah, blah, blah. Let's link up when we're at the event. One thing led to another, and this was our senior year of high school?
I believe, yeah, senior year.
Senior year of high school, which would be 2013. We're young guns. We met at Lars Anderson. You introduced me to a couple of your friends. I introduced you to a couple of my friends. The next thing you know, like Powan's looped in. A couple other people are looped in. And we're doing like almost weekly car meets with just our group of friends. We went to Kimball Farms a lot.
Yep.
We'd meet up at our local high schools and do that kind of stuff. But Alex was making spotting videos on YouTube. So he actually got into the automotive YouTube game before I did. If they want to go check out the videos, the channel name actually changed.
No,
it's the same.
Yep, we're still rocking the OG name here, which is Ghetto Codmaster 555. I'll let you slow it down, and you can always repeat it if you need some spelling there.
That's real, by the way. That's not fake.
100% real. There's a few interesting videos. Wouldn't say the content is really there as far as the quality, but there was some cool stuff I managed to capture on video there. So.
Like, I know we're supposed to be talking about our automotive background, but can you tell us a little bit about that McLaren video that you filmed?
Yes. So you guys, if you were some early Jalopnik readers, you may have seen this. This would have been around, I want to say, 2012, 2013. I was in high school. I was driving at the time my parents' Jeep Wrangler, and I was just driving, and I saw that what was the new McLaren MP4 Spider. Right now, this was a hot car, obviously McLaren's first introduction back into the supercar game since really the SLR McLaren Mercedes. And so, you know, being a young kid, I decided to take a video of it. I pull up behind the guy, and all of a sudden he turns off the car and gets out of it. So I'm like, that's kind of weird. We're at a red light. And the guy actually ends up turning around and dropping his pants and taking a whiz. So without any other real way to put it. And I managed to capture this on video. Jalopnik featured it, GT Spirit, a few others at the time. So that was my one claim to fame, and it made it to a TV show. So that
made it to what TV show?
It's a small show called Right This Minute.
Okay.
They did a little feature on it. It was cool. You know, I made a couple $100 doing so, and you know, it was cool as a kid. Definitely a good conversation starter. So
meanwhile, I'm in my basement playing the drums to songs that then get copyright claims on. I don't make any money. So you were definitely doing better than me.
Sure, absolutely.
Cool. Well, let's start out with kind of what we were driving. I know you said at the time you were driving your parents' Jeep Wrangler. My first car was a 2003 Volkswagen Passat handed down from my father. And Alex and I used to rip around in those cars. We would top of second gear in the Jeep was
80 something miles an hour in that good old 5-speed ZF box. It was a 2012 Wrangler.
And we have I have a video buried deep on my phone somewhere on Snapchat of you topping out second gear in the one of the tunnels in Boston. And that was back when Snapchat had a 10-second limit. And I'm pretty sure it took the full 10 seconds to really get 100%.
I'm pretty sure we started at $4,000 too. So we only had about 3,200 RPM to go from that point. But essentially, that was really the first car that I was using here. Parents' Wrangler. And then I ended up, after my first year of college, actually getting my own car. So that was a 2007 BMW 335i with the N54 engine for you BMW nerds out there.
And that was a door in the background, by the way, if you heard that. We're not alone, but that's okay.
No ghosts here.
So 335 with an N54. I know your ownership experience, but let's take a step back. Alex, your mindset when it comes to cars, we're a little bit different in that I tend to go a little crazy and off the deep end, and Alex is much smarter than I am when it comes to modding cars and keeping them reliable, although you did buy an N54, so...
Well, you learn, it's experience, right?
So the 335, the mods on that were...
Intake and a tune, and really I think that was just about it. And it was a good old tune from Bren Tuning there. It made about 375 rear wheel torque, so it hauled.
That was the fastest car in our friend group for a while.
For a good amount of time.
For a good while. It was also consistently in the shop.
Yes, it was about as fast as it was unreliable. So I spent a lot of money trying to keep that car on the road. Granted, it was a little bit of a higher mileage example, but decided after about a year and a half it was time to move on to something a little more reliable.
But I have great memories in that car.
Oh, no question.
We did a lot of questionable things, but it sounded so good. I don't know if we think... Actually, did you delete the secondary cats?
Nope. It was a stock exhaust, but it was the sport package, so it had the Boyson exhaust there that was valved. I unplugged the valve like a lot of 335 owners do, and just it sounded decent with the tune and kind of blew out the mufflers, I'm pretty sure, after about 100K miles.
I was going to say, I remember it getting louder and louder and the backfire pops getting louder and louder. That wasn't thanks to the tune. That was thanks to a little bit of driving.
A little bit of spirited driving.
So at the same time that Alex had the 335, I was probably about, I guess that would make me about a year into GTI ownership. I had a 2008 GTI, which if you're new to the channel, I have some videos on that car, but I really modified that car off camera and only really started making YouTube videos about myself once I was done with that car. But talking about fastest cars in our friend group, that car was the fastest car in our friend group.
It sure was.
For a short period of time, I had a downpipe and a stage 2 tune.
That was the fastest thing in the world.
Yeah, it was
as far as we were concerned.
And it was a manual. We were like, I think I did that, senior year summer that I did that. So right at the end of the summer, we're like ripping around. I'd finally learned how to drive stick. And I was like, yeah, this thing's sick. So I went down the line with that car. I had that car all through college, I believe just about 4 years. Stage 2, intercooler, high pressure fuel pump, unitronic tune, wheels, suspension, big brakes, you name it. I went the opposite of you. I went very, very deep on that car and definitely did not see the greatest return on my investment. But that car had let me meet a lot of people. One, it let me really start into the Volkswagen Audi community because the Passat was stock. It was really my dad's car I was driving. I wasn't allowed to modify it. I tried to plastic up the rear badge one day. He got mad at me, so I peeled it off. But yeah, the GTI really got me into a bunch of things. And so it served me really well, but to the modification standpoint, I put all that money into it, and Alex's 335 would have walked that thing on the stock tune. I'm pretty sure it did.
Yeah,
on the stock tune.
I do recall racing
In Mexico.
Hey, but let me put it this way, for everything I spent repairing that car and what you had to go through and put how many miles on that thing? I mean,
I think I put 50,000
miles.
Yeah,
you put 50,000 on. I put 25,000 on mine, and I guarantee you, I spent probably more than what you spent over 50,000 miles.
Yeah,
just because
I would say that's fair.
I mean, for context, if you don't know 335s, they need everything: turbos, injectors, fuel pumps, ignition coils, plugs. Technically, those are wear items, but
did you do all of those?
I did not do
turbos.
I did not do the turbos. The injectors, the fuel pump were done before I had it. However, I was having issues with the water pump, control arm bushings,
wastegates
on the turbos. I never ended up replacing those. I sold it, and it was kept throwing the check engine light
Right,
for
right,
a
I
boost
remember
leak.
that.
Yep, and then there's just some other oil leaks and coolant leaks and whatnot.
So rear-wheel drive in New England definitely doesn't make the most sense. But what these
Nope.
guys don't know is, did you have the car at school?
I did, but I did have it for a winter here as well.
Here. Okay.
So,
Well, Alex went to school in Florida.
Yeah.
So he didn't really have to worry about winter driving. And when you came back, a lot of times you were driving the Jeep anyway.
yes.
But the 335 was a great car. Like I said before, we had a lot of great memories in that car. And we learned a couple things in that car,
yeah,
too.
I would say I learned a couple things about limits and really how you should act on a street. Let's put it that way.
Yes. That's a story for a different podcast.
Certainly.
So after the 335, I'm still in my GTI at this point, and you made a little bit, actually like a complete switch.
Pretty much a 90-degree angle. So what had happened with myself was I want to say end of July of I don't even remember what year now, 2015 actually. I was decided, you know what, I can't bring this 335 back to school with me. I'm going to spend $1,000 to ship it down to Florida, and then it's just going to need, $3,000-$4,000 worth of work. I'm just going to get rid of it. So I actually sold that technically to my father, who then traded in on a car for my mother. However, I took the money and bought a 2014 Ford Focus ST.
Affectionately known as Frank the Focus.
Affectionately known as Frank the Focus.
And for a while, Alex's Instagram handle was adventures_of_the_. Frank_the_focus_st. Which, when I tried to tag him in videos, was just an absolute nightmare. It'd be like everybody else's Instagram was, well, actually, you can't see me if you're listening to this, but very short, and his was very long. But Focus, that was fun.
Yeah.
You still have it. I shouldn't say that was fun. We're talking about maybe stepping into a next chapter, but
Yep.
Focus.
For now.
What did you do to the Focus, or what have you done to the Focus?
So I branched out a little more with the Focus. However, Eli would still laugh that I call these things mods. But did sort of this, started with the same route as the 335. Did an RS style intake, which is just essentially, if you Focus owners take the airbox off of the RS and put it on, it's an open lid that seals the hood. Pretty cool. Super powerful.
It does say RS when you open
It
the
does
hood.
say RS, and a lot of shops have actually been confused about that. But that's
Like
another
Ford
story.
dealerships?
Not Ford
Oh, okay.
dealers, but other indie shops.
You down badged an RS to an ST,
Yeah.
or you
well,
swapped an RS motor.
yeah. No, unfortunately not. Just the intake cover.
And then we did the muffler delete special, which has combined. There's two videos. There's us, I think, deleting the muffler and us
Welding the new tips
welding
on.
the new tips on. That's like 50 or 60 or 70,000 views on YouTube now. So for all you Focus ST owners buying performance exhaust, you're doing it wrong. What you have to do is go to AutoZone, which you picked up.
So we chopped the muffler. First off, you chop the muffler with a Sawzall. That you can get for free.
This is a video that Powen participated in, so of course we did the Sawzall and the muffler delete in Powen's driveway, because that's where all muffler deletes happen.
And well,
I told you she would bark.
that's all right.
Mika, we're filming a podcast right now. Can you? Thank you. Anyway, don't test me. Anyway, so muffler delete in Powen's driveway. We welded on some new diesel truck tips.
I don't know what they were. They were actually resonated exhaust tips. So it was, what had happened was I'd already deleted the front resonator. Then we deleted the muffler, so it was essentially straight from the cat. And at that point, it was the way it was positioned before we put tips on it was reverberating straight off the ground. So it was
I remember that.
It kind of sounded bad. We found these brilliant resonated exhaust tips at AutoZone, threw them on there. Some nice welding skills from good old Powen.
Yep.
And believe it or not, I think we're 2 or 3 years later. It's still running those that same setup.
Be 4 years later.
No, because I got the car August of 15. So
Okay, so 3 years later.
yeah, 3
sounds
years
about
later.
right.
Yeah,
And then you also have a Bren tune in that car.
Yes.
See a little trend here: intake, potential exhaust if it doesn't have a flap, and then a Bren tune.
yes. Otherwise, this was my next from that was my big mod was a I believe 26 or 28 millimeter thick rear sway bar from Steeda Performance. Did that along with their end links and polyurethane bushings. This was a new chapter for me, certainly.
Would you say that the Focus was the right purchase for you?
You know, that's a good question. At the time, my biggest thing was, I really wanted to spend, 20 grand or less. I needed something that was just under warranty. I was so sick of just a car being in the shop. And, to be perfectly honest, I bought that car with 8,000 miles. It's got 53,000 right now. It's really been very reliable. Only minor things have been replaced.
5 recalls.
Yes. Many recalls, many recalls. However, nothing, knock on wood, that's left me stranded other than flat tires. But
fair.
I am also a nail magnet,
So, as Alex, I guess this would be 2 years after you got your Focus, I jumped into the S4.
Yes.
Which a lot of people on YouTube know me for, because those are the videos that actually really kind of put me on the map as far as YouTube goes. I wouldn't say I'm like on the map, but they took me from like
speck on the radar.
Yeah, exactly. So S4, I did. There really is a trend here.
Mm-hmm.
I did intake, I did exhaust, I did test pipes, I did dual pulley, I did a fuel pump, I did suspension, I did bigger brakes, I did wheels, I did tires. What else did I do? That's kind of it, but that's a lot.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It added up, I'm sure.
So I had that car for a year and a half. That got hit by a snowplow this past winter. I was cut off. I did not hit the snowplow, contrary to popular belief.
Well, you did hit it.
Well, I did hit it, but it was his fault, and the insurance company says so.
Exactly.
But then I got into what you guys probably now know me for, which is a 2016 Audi SQ5 in Sepang Blue. I also had a little baby boy, so that kind of contributed in the factor. And that's been my dad car, which I know we're going to talk about dad cars in the very near future.
Yes.
But I'm already exhaust tune. I have a supercharger pulley in the car, not in the engine bay yet.
In the trunk.
I have wheels and I have suspension on that car. So you can clearly see that Alex has much more self-restraint than I do. And I would say that once you go off the deep end once, it's a lot harder not to go off it again and again and again.
We just keep
again,
jumping.
Self-restraint.
Yeah, I'm working on it. But we'll see. Maybe down the line something will change.
So that's our history. Now I'm going to ask... Actually, no, we're missing one car.
Yes.
Which is just a recent addition.
A very recent addition that I actually wasn't expecting to get. This was something that theoretically landed in my lap. My grandmother was in what she considered in need of a new car. So we got her a newer A4, B9 A4. And she decided to allow me to purchase her 2011 Mercedes C300 4MATIC. Now, I know what you guys are thinking. It's the quite far from an enthusiast car. It's not to replace my Focus or my fun car at all. But I tried driving my Focus in the winter with snow tires last year and didn't have such a great time.
It's not so fun.
Not so fun.
Front wheel drive with snow tires is good. It's not great.
It's good, not great. And you know what? If this kind of just landed in my lap, it was too good of a deal to pass up. And it's 4-wheel drive, and I don't really have to care about it. It's got 85,000 miles on it. Just drive it till it dies. So
Alex and I have been going back and forth talking about what to do. He could trade in the C300 and the Focus, and what the next chapter for you would be. And we've talked B8.5 S4 a lot.
Mm-hmm.
The only issue with that is I would definitely take him off the deep end with that car. I know you're going to... We talked about it. He was like, intake, tune, exhaust done. Mm-hmm. And I was like, no, because I'm going to find you suspension, and I'm going to find you big brakes, and I'm going to find you good deals on those, and you're going to do them. And then it's going to kind of, what's the word?
Spiral.
Like snowball down the hill. Yeah, spiral.
Yeah, spiral downwards.
Yeah, that's a little bit of a death spiral. Although it's a great, reliable car to modify. Not that I'm selling the B8.5 S4, but is there anything else on your mind for potential replacements for Frank the Focus?
I'm a little all over the place because, part of me wants to get rid of the Frank, get rid of the C300, just consolidate to one car, something smart. I drive into the city every day for work. I don't do as much fun driving anymore. Mm-hmm. So a B8.5 S4 would really fit the bill there.
Yeah.
However,
the responsible decision.
The responsible decision. The other part of me says sell the Focus right now, save some money over the winter. In the spring, keep the Mercedes and get something like a C6 Z06. And that would be... very irresponsible.
Would be likely a cheaper purchase than an S4.
Yeah, they're rocking right around that $28,000 to $30,000 range, maybe a little more.
Okay, and that car you really wouldn't need to do. I see what you're doing here. That car you wouldn't really need to do anything to it besides put some nice tires on it and put some good brake pads, fluids, and maybe some lines on it.
Yep, and if any of you there are familiar with the LS7 engine, they actually do have an issue where they will drop a valve.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's definitely a drawback of them. However, that's why most people, they get them and they do heads cam immediately. Okay. And
does that mean you'll do heads and cam on a car?
If I can justify it by it being a safety precaution.
So you'll have the Lope, and you'll still have the C300 for winter.
That's exactly it. So you put 3,000 to 5,000 miles a year on the Vet.
I think we need to talk about this in a future episode about Corvettes in general. We should make a whole podcast about Corvettes.
Absolutely.
But do you really want the Corvette owner stereotype?
I don't care. I'm a deal guy. I'm more in the sense where
I guess
the way
you
the
really
car
don't
drives.
care what other people think, which is very clear. By
I have a Focus and
I
have a Focus and a C-Class. I mean, hey, it doesn't change me that much,
Yeah.
I'm driving it because I like it, not because other people do.
I guess I'm not really driving cars because other people like them too, because I would have probably bought something flashier, but I still think about that. Like, I don't think I could bring myself to buy a Corvette just because I know that the same thing. I couldn't buy a Mustang because I know the stereotypes around Mustang, although that's worse. Not worse like car wise, but worse like stereotype wise.
Let me put it this way. When I'm going second, third, no lift shift in the C6 Vet, you might take those words back.
Yeah, I would say so, especially if it's got a nice cam and some pipes on it.
7,000 RPM.
Okay, all right, I'm sold on this idea. I actually didn't know about this until this podcast.
It's hot off the press, actually.
Anyway, well, I think that just about wraps up our car history and also the first episode of the still unnamed IgnitionTube podcast. Leave a comment below if you're watching this on YouTube. Let us know what we should call a podcast. And again, if you're listening on Spotify, chances are we already have a name because you need a name to submit to Spotify.
Yes.
So please help us get on Spotify so that you can enjoy us in places where you don't have Wi-Fi and not use up all your data watching a YouTube video. Anyway, for now, thank you for joining. Thank you for joining our listeners, or listener, depending on how successful this is. Thanks,
Could be
Mom.
Listener. Yeah, exactly.
Well, actually, if your mom listens too, that's two listeners.
I think I can get my mom and maybe even my dad to listen to this.
So that's listeners. We're good.
All right.
Well, thanks to our listeners for listening. We hope you guys enjoy this. As always, thank you guys for listening. Go out there and spread some positivity, and we will catch you guys in the next episode.
Take care.
Bye.